Howdy folks, welcome to the show. It's kind of a 3 a.m. video. I'm not trying to get onto that old, I assume dead trend of 3 a.m. freaky videos, but I don't plan on this being a freaky video. But if you're a Kings fan, this is a freaky, scary video because it did not go well, as you can probably see from the title. If you haven't looked at it, we'll get right into it. The first period begins with the first notable play coming from Adrian Kempe holding Leon Draisaitl. It's kind of a weak call, I have to agree with Kings fans. The Kings do kill that penalty before getting a power play opportunity of themselves when Mattias Ekholm is called for hooking Dubois, which was also a very weak call. That penalty is also killed as well. Eventually, somebody does get on the board at 6:42 into the first period. It's Zach Hyman scoring his 5th goal of the series, assisted by Mattias Ekholm, and it's 1-0. The Kings get a chance to respond on the power play 15 seconds shy of the halfway mark when Bouchard hooks Byfield. This one was a fair call, but that power play is killed. And then the Oilers double the lead. 15 and a half minutes into the first period, Draisaitl scores his 2nd of the series. He's assisted by Vander Kane, who is newly elevated to his line for this game, and Darnell Nurse. It was a really nice play where Vander Kane drove to the right side of the net. So when I mean right, I mean from the goalie's point of view. He goes behind the net, and as he's going to the left, Cam Talbot goes to the left to match him, but Kane does a behind-the-back pass to Draisaitl. And before Talbot can switch to the right side of the net, Draisaitl has the back of the net because he doesn't need that much room or time to snipe it. So it was a really nice play, and it's really good to see Kane in the mood, at least from an Oilers perspective, because he was quite involved during this game. He's definitely got the playoff blood pumping, even though it was revealed that he was playing with a sports hernia all season. And I liked him with McLeod and Perry, but now he's getting on the board with Draisaitl and Nuge as his line mates. At the end of the period, almost 2 minutes out from it, Doughty slashes Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. That is another power play opportunity for the Oilers. The Oilers score again. It's Connor McDavid scoring his first goal of the series. I'd complain about him not scoring if he didn't have 6 assists coming into this game. In the series, he's assisted by Evan Bouchard, who is also having a bounce-back game. That's his 5th assist of the series. And Draisaitl also got an assist on that goal. First period ends 16-8. The shots are in favor of the Oilers, partially because of the power plays. Draisaitl also broke a record. It's kind of a nitpick of a stat, but we'll take it. He's the fastest player in NHL history to score 20 playoff goals. Bernie Nichols and Kevin Stevens had the record at 29 games, where it took them 29 games to score 20 playoff goals. Draisaitl needed only 26. So that is a new record. Getting kind of a nitpicking record, but we'll take it. Second period is the least eventful period of the game, but also similarly competitive. It begins with the Kings getting on the board. 5.5 minutes into the second period, a lot of the Oilers are playing good defense in their own zone, but Doughty beats Kane. Kane doesn't realize it till it's too late, and Doughty gets a nice backdoor pass to score his 2nd goal of the series, second goal and 2 games in a row. As well, he was assisted by Byfield and Mikey Anderson. So that is a negative for Vander Kane, but he quickly makes it a positive for himself when he scores just over 2 minutes later himself. And he's assisted by Cody Ceci because he deflected a very fast shot from Cody Ceci and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. So now at this point it becomes a 3-1 game. The Kings take they don't take a penalty. They get a power play when Draisaitl hooks Byfield 12 minutes into the second period, but that is also killed. And the period ends. Shots were tied during that period at 10, and the score is 4-1. Yeah, 4-1 heading into the third. And the Oilers are controlling the Kings. They've been controlling the Kings all game. And then at 5 minutes and 19 seconds in, England is penalized with an illegal check to the head against Kane. It was kind of hard to tell because Kane's head was a little low, but the deciding factor was England's shoulder was able to, well, not able, but he raised his shoulder to Kane's head. And whether he intended for that or not, the fact that he raised it is, it will get you penalized. So with that happens, so there's a lot of penalties called here. And because a lot goes down, I'm just going to say, I don't know what the issue was, whether it was the refs or tech issues or Sportsnet or what, but there was a ton of penalties called and not much explanation. Not just for this incident, but there's other incidents through the third period. A lot of them were really soft calls. The refs just seemed to just keep calling penalties without explaining them. Normally they'd go to the center of the ice and call the play on the mic, but that didn't happen. It just, or at least we didn't see it. It was, they just called penalties and stuff happened. So during that incident, England knocks over Kane with that check to the head. Holloway sees that, and there's a great shot that at least Sportsnet viewed showing Holloway's reaction, where he kind of wide-eyed, eyes open, he's got an O mouth, and then he hits England from behind. Kane gets up, and England fights. Depends on your point of view on who wins it, because England did take down Kane, so normally I would say the guy who took down the guy won, and by took down I mean like pulled him down to the ice with him. But at the same time, England couldn't even get a punch off. He couldn't even try to get a punch. Kane controlled the fight and had a couple punches land squarely on England, at least from what it looked like. But Kane didn't take down England. England took him down. So up to you on who you thought won. But during that, a lot of the line mates were, besides the goalies, were kind of tussling. So Kopitar and Desharnais are also thrown out for roughing, and Holloway and Kempe are thrown off for roughing, but it becomes a 5-on-3 because of England's illegal check to the head, and Kopitar is given unsportsmanlike conduct. If I was calling it, I might have done 5-on-4 to give Holloway a penalty for additional roughing penalty against England, but whatever. At this point, there wasn't much reason for the Kings to think there was a comeback, but they're booing the refs pretty quickly. I saw one Oilers fan said they're just booing because they don't understand hockey. Well, we do in Edmonton, and we'd still boo the refs. Everyone boos the refs. We absolutely would in that situation. I wish I could offer more insight on the penalties, but like I said, the refs and didn't explain them, or at least if they tried, we didn't get it. And so the guys with the mics on, all the announcers and commentators and the directors over at Sportsnet and whatever site you're watching, I think ESPN or TVA, they they didn't really know. We just kind of had to go off of what was written down on the sheet of what the official penalties were. We couldn't really find out why or anything. Just kind of had to do a guessing game. So those were the penalties. It's a 5-on-3, and the Oilers do score once on the 5-on-3. It's Zach Hyman, of course, scoring his 6th goal of the series. He's assisted by McDavid, that's number 7 for him, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Almost 2 minutes later, the Kings get a power play for themselves when McLeod is given a very soft penalty. Him and Lizotte kind of go back and forth in a roughing manner, but it's McLeod's face wash of Lizotte that is the part that's penalized, so he's thrown to the box. At this point, it seems clear. If you touch the other player, it is a penalty. I'm obviously exaggerating, but it really felt like that, not just by hockey game standards or preseason standards or children's hockey standards, but especially postseason standards when hits are flying. So that starts to become clear, and more penalties are handed out. That power play opportunity is killed by the Oilers. They do that a lot this game. And soon after that, past the halfway mark of the third, Dubois and Bouchard are thrown out of the game for roughing and misconduct. Kulak and Byfield go to the box for roughing, and Dubois is given an additional roughing to give the Oilers a power play opportunity. And I can't tell if that's the right call or not because we didn't get much replay. And the refs didn't really explain it either. Or at least, again, if they tried, we didn't hear it. So whatever. Oilers get a power play opportunity and they score very quickly into it. 23 seconds into that power play, Draisaitl scores his second of the game, third of the series. He is assisted by McDavid for his 8th assist, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins for his 3rd assist of the game. Very soon after that goal, there's offsetting penalties between Drew Doughty and Evander Kane for one of the only actual penalties of the game, where they're both thrown off for misconduct. And then a minute after that, the Kings go on the power play with Warren Foegele. He, I don't know, barely touched Cam Talbot. And it's goaltending interference. Maybe barely is a hyperbole. Just my mind is kind of like they were calling everything in the third period. It was just really, really bad. Whether you were a Kings fan, Oilers fan, or in between, didn't care, hated both. Reffing was ugly. The Oilers do kill that power play again, and this time at 90 seconds from the end of the game, people are just trying to leave. Players just trying to leave. Half the stadium's left. There was a jersey thrown on the ice. I couldn't make it out if it was a Kings penalty a Kings jersey or a ref's jersey because they both wear black and white. That's Halo music, by the way, in the background. Again, anyways, so 90 seconds out from the end of the game, Foegele this time draws a penalty when he's tripped by Kevin Fiala. But then on that power play, 23 seconds from the end of the game, Foegele trips Mikey Anderson, but I don't think it should have been called. In fact, it's a play that you see a lot during the regular season not called because two guys collide, and you can tell it wasn't intentional. Just one guy fell over, or they both fell over, and so normally it's not called. But this time, Anderson looked like he fell over harder. I'm wondering if it was a dive. Maybe it wasn't. Either way, you could tell they just kind of both ran into each other. And it wasn't like tough or anything. It wasn't like a hit or trip or intentional. It just incidentally hit each other, and that was enough for Foegele to get a tripping call and go to the box. And the game finally ends after this big rundown of all these penalties. 6-1 for the Oilers in a very dominating performance. So, ignoring the rest for now because they obviously had a hand in the game, but I don't think they affected the result. The Kings were getting controlled very well, 5-on-5 and special teams. So they weren't going to win it anyways. It just made the loss worse when you didn't really have much of a chance to create a miracle because of all the penalties, and that their penalty kill still wasn't doing too good. So the final, like I said, 6-1 for the Oilers. Final tally of shots. The third period ended with shots 14-10 in favor of the Oilers. Final game was 40-28 in favor of the Oilers. Hits favored the Kings 35-22, and the Oilers won the faceoff circle 0.8% more than or past the 50% mark. Power plays, the Oilers were via ESPN because I saw two different numbers. They were 3 for 7. They had 12 shots during those power plays and allowed 1. The penalty kill for the Oilers was perfect. They killed all 5 power plays. They only allowed 7 shots during those and actually had 1 themselves. Skinner, he was 27 for 28. Incredible bounce back game for him. He was excellent. He didn't have to face too much to start, but there was a couple really high quality chances that he saved. The one that went past him would have needed a very amazing save to save. You'd still like to see that, but it's hard to really blame him on that one either. Cam Talbot, well, his normal numbers do look very ugly. He had 34 saves on 40 shots, so despite only saving 85% of the shots he faced, there's good reason to say he had a great game because none of those goals really squeaked by him. They were all high-quality goals. The Oilers, frankly, dismantled the Kings in both the Kings' defense, both even strength and penalty kill. Remember, the Kings had the second best penalty kill in the league. And it was a penalty kill that was effective against the Oilers during the regular season. It hasn't been effective in Game 1, somewhat effective in Game 2, not effective at all tonight. It was very ugly. Money Puck, and we'll talk more about them later, had Talbot have a positive goal saved above expected of 2.49. So if you don't know how that works, I'm not as big of a fan of it as other people are. I'm working on something that I think might be better, that is inspired by it, but it is a good way of measuring quality quality shots faced. So essentially, the idea is if a goalie has a positive number, he had a good game. If a goalie has a negative number, he had a bad game. I think there's too many negative numbers, so that's why I'm not a big fan of the model, but it's still a very good idea. So the idea is each shot zone is given a value. Each site has different models of which zone is worth what, and what if a goalie saves that shot from that zone, they get a plus, like for example 0.01 or whatever, or 0.05, and if they allow, it's a -1. So the fact that Talbot allowed 6 goals during that game, but was still a plus 2.49 goals saved above expected, which is something you only really see when a goalie has a shutout, is just amazing. Amazing. I don't know if it's amazing for Talbot, but it's certainly a good pat on the back for him, because it tells you what we all saw in that, yeah, he wasn't saving those 6. Those 6 were all very high quality plays, highly talented plays, and Talbot actually saved a lot more. The Kings defense was no help really today. If you're a Kings fan coming into this, there isn't really a positive takeaway. You got bullied by the Oilers and the refs. I mean, the refs also went after the Oilers. It wasn't one-sided, but it didn't help that you were bullied by the refs too. I guess you hit Kane pretty hard, and you did score a goal. Dowdy did score again, so there's that. But yeah, this was a manhandling by the Oilers. Further talk about Money Puck, I've brought up their win-o-meter before. I'm not too big of a fan of it, but once again, I think the deserve to win-o-meter is quite astonishing. It's the largest number I've ever seen on the deserve to win-o-meter from Money Puck. The Oilers were at a deserve to win-o-meter of 98.8%. That's absurd. I posted their deserve to win-o-meter versus the Avs in one of the regular season games, and I thought, wow, that's the highest I've ever seen. I don't think it'll ever go higher. Well, it did, because everyone on the Oilers had a really good game. Skinner and Bouchard both had bounce-back games. Everyone was very good defensively. I want to shout out Vinny Desharnais for his excellent penalty kill. He served well over 5 minutes on the penalty kill. He's one of 2 players to do that for the Oilers tonight. There's a lot more guys who were excellent on the penalty kill. I don't think there was a single guy who had a bad game. The only guy who you could say maybe had a bad game was Evander Kane, but you can't. It's just he had the one bad moment where he didn't cover Doughty properly and Doughty scores, but Doughty, other than that, Kane had an excellent game, good enough to be my 3rd star. He had a goal, an assist, and a fight, meaning he had a Gordie Howe hat trick. He also had 3 hits. Didn't have a lot of time on ice. It was just under 14 minutes, but that's not because the coach didn't want him to play. It's because he was in the box or in the locker room a lot for misconduct. He was very active. He got hit a lot, and he gave out hits a lot. There was a couple plays where it's like, oh, dang, he's down on the ice. He's not going to get up, and then he did, and then he'd go hit someone. So I hope he's okay. But you know how hockey players are. It doesn't matter if they're hurt; it's if they're injured. It doesn't even matter if they're injured. It matters if can you play. 2nd star was Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. He had 3 assists, a hit, a takeaway, almost 20 minutes of time on ice, and over a quarter of that was on the shorthanded. He was the other player who had over 5 minutes of shorthanded time on ice. He was 0-for-3 in the faceoff circle, though, but he had an excellent game. Draisaitl was your 1st star. He had 2 goals, including the game winner, an assist, 2 blocks, 17 minutes and 51 minutes of time. 17 minutes and 51 seconds of time on ice, I should say, and awesome in the faceoff circle, winning 11 of 15. So those were the 3 guys who highlighted the excellent game from everybody by the Oilers. So many positives to take away from the Oilers on that game. It was just a ruthless victory. kind of a weird one because of all the bad reffing. You gross. I wanted to say that of the three Oilers 3-stars that I've had in each game, there have been no repeats. It's been a new trio each time. Nobody has been a different star yet. So I think that's a really awesome testament to the Oilers and their ability to play. Though I will say McDavid, Hyman, and Desharnais all could have been repeats today because I already mentioned Desharnais' good play on defense. Hyman had 2 goals and 5 assists, and McDavid, he had a goal himself and 2 assists, so they could have been 3 stars. I just kind of had to whittle it down to the 3 guys I felt impacted the game the most in a positive way. So that's it for me, and tonight it's almost 4 a.m. I need to sleep and go to bed, but I had a big nap, way bigger nap than I wanted to, so I'm actually kind of awake right now. But I'll try to go to bed. If you like this video, please like it virtually there. That's a huge help to me. Comment your thoughts down below and subscribe and turn on notifications so you can see more. I would appreciate all of that. If you didn't like the video, that's okay. I'd still be happy to hear your thoughts down below, and you can virtually dislike the video too. Rather you didn't, but up to you. That's, again, it for me. I hope you have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, and I'll see you when I see you next.